Hello and welcome to Sarah Overbooked. I am Sarah and this is update number 4 for the year, so basically April. This will be all the books I read and a quick review of them and a little bit about what I was doing in April. So without ado, here we go. So with my life update for April, I recorded a part and then I remembered I just wrote down some things after learning about my diagnosis and talking to people, reading their thoughts on the forums and hearing their thoughts and my own thoughts. I just wrote down some things and I figured my life update for April, I'll read that to you because that was April. April was a bad month. All my symptoms were flaring up. It was painful. It was scary. It was just... Okay, here we go. Chronic lymphocytic leukemia, an incurable blood cancer. It is tricky. I want sympathy, but don't. I am sick, but I'm not. There are worse cancers, but it's still cancer. Most people respond well to treatment, but some don't. There are many secondary symptoms and side effects to treatment, but we're lucky because the treatments are good. Active CLL, when you need treatment, is quite severe and can make us very sick. It shouldn't be belittled or disregarded. Our immune system is shot, our hemoglobin and platelet counts can be dangerously low, and all sorts of other problems can occur. Also, the treatments can cause related issues. All I'm saying is that CLL is not the gentle cancer, as many call it. It's just cancer. Stage 1 and 2, watch and wait, equals watch and worry. Stage 3 and 4, you won't be fine, you'll be managed. I have a slow chronic type of cancer. I'm not going to go 20 years with no treatment. I needed treatment within 3 months of diagnosis. It is ongoing and won't be a walk in the park. I may have close to a normal lifespan, but that doesn't take quality of life into account. I am sick and it sucks. If today is a good day, that's what counts. It's a blood cancer. No one can see it. We don't often look ill. Others think we are not sick or suffering. This is our reality. That was my April. The first book I read in April was Nona the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. This is the third book in the Locked Tomb series, and it's a good book, but it's definitely not the best of the series. This one follows Nona. Nona is a soul that is living in a 19-year-old body, but she just woke up 6 months ago with no memory. We follow Nona and her adopted family, Pyrrha and Camilla, as they find their way in the world that they're living, which is a world where there's a bunch of different factions continuously fighting. And all through this going on and outside, Nona is dreaming the dreams of somebody else. And she's trying to figure out who that person is, who these dreams belong to. I think this is my least favorite due to the fact that, unlike the previous books, this one just follows Nona in her day-to-day, and the war is more of a background story, as she isn't really interested in it and not really a part of it. She's more interested in her job as a teacher's aide, dogs, and her small groups of friends and family, so that's what we're reading about. And it's just not as interesting to me as the other two in the series were. And the second book that I read in April was CLL, A Survival Guide, and we'll just leave it at that. Very, very few people will be interested in that topic. The third book I read in April was The Test by Sylvain Neuvel. This is basically a book about what does it take to become a citizen of a country? What should a country test for to allow somebody to become a citizen? And how does one test for those qualities? In the end, what are the consequences of said tests? This story, it takes on those questions. It's a short story and it hits on some heavy themes, and because it is a short story, it leaves some of those themes and the questions brought up about it hanging, but it does it in a way that it leaves it hanging for you to interpret as you will. Some people may not like that. Some people like it more condensed and consolidated and being told. This is, you're able to interpret it your way. Being that it's a short story, lots of people think that they're quick reads that you can just read, toss aside, and be done with. This one actually brings up a lot of questions that deserve to be thought about or talked about if you have people that you can talk about with them, the books that you read. And that might be why this is one of the very few short stories that I really enjoyed. The fourth book that I read in April was Jawbone by Monica, I am going to pronounce this wrong, Monica Oeda? I apologize for butchering your name. And this is one of those books that seems to be trying to get a deep message across, but I don't think I was smart enough to get it. It's possible that I just didn't care also. I don't read to break down deeper meaning of what was written on the page. That was for school and having to write papers and all of that, and I'm done with that part of my life. I just want to be entertained and read for entertainment now. Let's see, the storyline was good enough that I did enjoy most of the read. There were multiple storylines in this to follow that all interacted with each other and led up to the events that were happening in the present timeline. We follow both a teacher and one of the students in the popular group in a girls' school, and we get their past leading up to the event that starts the book. The book starts with a shocking event, and we get the story of the past leading up to that. Again, it was an interesting enough read, but I did feel like it was trying to get a message across or an underlying lesson, and I just didn't care. The fifth book I read in April was The Strain, book number 1 of the series, The Strain. If you watched the show from, 2014? If you watched the show and enjoyed it, you will enjoy this book. I got this series because I enjoyed watching the show. I saw the show first, and they did a great job of adapting it, and so far the series was true to the books. The book, I only read the one. For those of you that don't know, this is an apocalyptic vampire story. The ancient vampires are at war, and it is spilling over into the mortal world. One of the ancients, I believe there's 7 ancients, and one of them is pulling away from the others, and he brings the vampiric virus, it's a virus, to New York. And this book is the story of the virus starting to affect the people in New York. This is the story of the small group of individuals who will be discovering the ins and outs of the virus, and will be fighting the encroaching evil that is coming from the ancient. Their story of finding each other, and the epic final battle at the end, where both sides reap both rewards and consequences. This was written, I don't think I said that, by Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan, and it's written very well. It's a very fast read. I'm so glad that I got this. I bought the whole series, so now I just need to not do my normal, read the first one and wait 3 years and then read the next. I need to actually read the rest. And the 6th book that I read in April was N.K. Jemisin's The Stone Sky, the final book in the Broken Earth trilogy, and my least favorite. Seems to be a theme this month. But again, it was still a good book, just my least favorite of the series. 3rd book, final book in a series. How do you tell anybody what it's about if they hadn't read the series and not spoil anything? Not quite sure. Let's see. This is the end of Essen's quest to stop the seasons, and hopefully any future seasons. She's trying to stop them for good, so we follow her and her companions on this last leg of her journey. But this book and this part of it just seems a little bit drawn out. It could have been maybe shorter. Didn't need all the filler. I don't really know what to say without spoiling anything other than that. Maybe it could have been more condensed and gotten to the point a little bit quicker, but that's just my take on it. I still enjoyed it, and I highly recommend the series if you haven't read it. Book 7 from April is Skin by Ibi Zobawi, and again, I'm sorry for butchering your name because I'm sure I did. I chose to read this one due to the 52 Book Club's reading challenge for the prompt number 17, book told in verse. And just put it out there right now, I enjoy mythology. So I enjoy reading all the original stories and have enjoyed the adaptations that I've consumed so far of Irish, Norse, Greek, Roman, doesn't matter. I like it. So it's not a far reach to say that I enjoyed this story because it's based on a Caribbean folklore. This is a story about a succubant who migrated to New York with her daughter, and about how the differences in dreams of family members can fracture that family, about doing what needs to be done to obtain your wish, what you want, and not what others want of you or for you, and about finding those in your life that will accept your true self. Book number 8 for April was Victorian Psycho by Virginia Fido. Again, sorry about mispronouncing your name. Probably did. This is a book that I thought about well after I finished reading it, so it stuck with me. It's an interesting story about a governess who is looking for something in particular and trying to avoid some of the occurrences of her past. It being a short story, I can't get into too much detail because I want to give away nothing, no spoilers. So here we meet Winifred as she is arriving at her new station with the Pound family. As we follow her thoughts and experiences, we come to find that the family is, let's say, disturbing, and that Winifred herself is, let's say, issues. This is a chaotic story told through the viewpoint of a chaotic mind that ends in a very chaotic event. I guess that proves that I like a little bit of chaos in my life. I enjoyed this. I know it's about a 50-50 from what I've heard, but this was one that I really enjoyed. And the 9th book I read in April was another part of a series, book 2 in the Love Story series by Christopher Moore. Christopher Moore is a humor writer, so he's not gonna be for everybody. You have to like his type of humor to like his books. I just happen to like his type of humor. This is the second story in a trilogy, and we continue to follow Tommy and Jody as their newly formed undead relationship continues to evolve and grow. Yep, they are vampires. As they look for a minion to do their daytime bidding, they are confronted with other vampires and a misfit group of vampire hunters, basically, that Tommy used to be friends with. This is Christopher Moore's classic type of humor, and like I said before, with all humor, if you like it, you like it. If not, you will not like it at all. I wouldn't suggest starting with this series for Christopher Moore either. If you are interested in trying to figure out if you like him, my favorite of his was Lamb. And his Shakespeare retellings were really good too. If you're interested in those, let me know and I can put the titles down in the comments. And the 10th book I read in April was Earthdivers, Volume 1, written by Stephen Graham Jones with Steve Wands, David... I cannot pronounce that, and I'm really sorry. The illustrator, David, and Joanna Lafuente. Volume 1 of 3 so far. I don't know if there's going to be more. It is a horror sci-fi graphic novel series, basically the classic story of going back in time, plotting a famous person's death to kill them and make the future better. So we start out in the year 2112. The apocalypse has come. The earth is dying, dead. Most of civilization is flying off the planet, but not everybody can afford it. A group of people find a cave that takes you back in time and decide to go back and try to kill Christopher Columbus before he lands in the Americas. Volume 1 is the story of Tad taking on that task, going through the cave, through the portal in the cave, back in time to try to find and kill Christopher Columbus. Old story, new little twists to it. I enjoyed it. It's a graphic novel, so it's a quick read. Good illustrations, good pictures. The 11th book I read in April was Alice in Borderland, Volume 5. In Volume 5, we're following the main group as they enter the first of the face card games. Alice in Borderland is a story where people from the real world get pulled into Borderland, which is a world where you have to play games to survive, and the games are based on a deck of cards. So ace through 10 have been played. They're regular games. The lower the number, the easier. And they've finished all of those, so they're now on the face cards, which are harder. This volume 5, had a lot of side stories in it, to the point that it's mostly side stories, less of the main story. And it was a bit much for one volume altogether. For me, at least, it was, I don't know, I don't mind the side stories thrown in here or there, but this was side story. So it was my least favorite up to this point. And the 12th book I read in April, I guess, was Earthdivers Volume 2. I thought that was in May, but I've read 2 volumes in April. And Volume 2 was called Ice Age. Volume 2 is where Tad's wife, Tawny, she decides she's gonna go and find Tad. So she tries to go through the cave, but had something on her from prehistoric Florida. So that's where she ended up, in prehistoric Florida. She ends up getting caught in the middle of a war between a community of native Paleo Indians and an occupying Sultan force. The second one was not as good as the first one, but still beautiful. Norman. Beautiful. Still beautiful illustrations and a good story. Alright, the last book I read in April was The Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre by Philip Fracassi, and I was so excited that I saw he was coming out with a new book this year. I asked for the ARC, I got the ARC. It doesn't come out till the 30th of September, late September. I asked because Gothic was the year that I read Gothic. Last year or the year before, I think it was last year, was my favorite book of the year. So I was so excited to see that his new book was coming out. This, definitely not as good as Gothic. I still recommend Gothic to everybody. You should read it. This one is for certain people, not everyone. This is the horror version of the very popular septuagenarian or octogenarian solving crimes mysteries that are being published now that are so popular. And other than the ages of the main characters, you know, there aren't any teenagers running upstairs instead of out the front door, and no exploring the creepy dark basement. But other than the ages, this is a basic slasher story that follows the basic slasher rules. It has a little bit of speculative going on in there, but basic slasher. Rose is the main character, and she's supposed to have this mysterious background, but if you pay attention to what's written, so easily figured out, not mysterious at all. The red herrings used were quite obvious. The ending has an open to interpretation event that some people will not appreciate. Others don't mind that type of thing. But basically, this is a good slasher story, but it's not a great book. If you like slashers, I would recommend giving this a try. It is a little different. Like I said, there's a little bit of speculative in it, but there's a little bit of speculative in Halloween and Friday the 13th. How do they keep coming back? How do they've been blown up and chopped to bits and, you know, put through wood chippers, whatever, but they still come back. So there's a little bit of speculative in it, but like I said, it's a basic slasher story. But yeah, it was still not a bad book, but I would still recommend Gothic over this as a better story from the author. I did listen to one book on audio in April, Amari and the Despicable Wonders. My least favorite of the series, and it was bad enough that I probably will not continue in the series. That I've had enough of Amari after that one. Those are the 14 books I read in April. Have you read any of those books? Are you now interested in reading any of those books? What did you think of the books? Do you agree with my assessment? If you are interested in helping my channel and don't actually have anything to comment on, can't think of anything, go ahead and leave a leaf emoji in the comments for the Autumn Springs retirement home, and I will see you next time.